Hi everyone, my name is Joey Williams and I'm the program manager for the CAPA Heat Watch program. I'm so excited to be talking to you today about our community-based heat mapping campaign and tell you a bit about the who, what, why, when, where, and how. And I'm so excited to also hear and listen to all of you and learn about our other best practices in citizen science. And so, as I mentioned, I work for CAPA Strategies, which stands for Climate Adaptation Planning Analytics. We are a relatively young but nimble organization dedicated to expanding local capacity to address climate change through innovative analytics and holistic planning. So to give you an idea, a little bit of the what I'll be talking about today, we're really focused around community participation in our Heat Watch program. We have been able to conduct these heat mapping exercises in dozens of communities around the US, thanks all to, in large to our community participants, folks who go out, dedicate their time and energy with an interest to do good for their community by bringing to light some really valuable information in terms of climate risk and extreme heat. And so this is what they're out generally doing, is going out and collecting information so that we can produce on the analytical side some really valuable high resolution data and mapping outputs. And this is an example of one of our maps, and it's a high resolution map that describes the ambient temperature and humidity felt just at about 2 meters above the ground. So 1 to 2 meters above the ground, where humans are moving around and experience the temperature in ways that can just really affect their health based on where they are in the city. And so this is a new approach to heat mapping as well. And there are different methods. If you're unfamiliar, what's often been done up to now is based on satellite-derived measurements of the Earth or stationary sensors, which help to depict longer-term fluctuations in temperature and humidity. But what we're doing here is very spatially rich. We were able to capture, with the help of our participants, a full city-wide map of heat. And that has been found to be really useful for planners and health officials and those in heat mitigation and heat preparation spaces and emergency management to take action, to generate interventions and create different outcomes for our communities around the country. I also would like to share with you some new developments and exciting progress being made in our low-cost sensor tech world of air quality monitoring and ambient heat monitoring. Also want to highlight the engagement and discussion that is happening online and in news media that is really helping to catapult the issue of heat to front pages and forefront of conversation in terms of climate resilience, where this is a really growing risk we know as heat waves intensify in duration and frequency every summer. And then I'd love to share with you what's next in terms of partnerships and how you can be engaged and follow along with our campaigns. So first, to focus on the who of our campaign participants, wonderful and amazing people from all walks of life, from all experiences and interests. We have students, we have faculty members of universities, we have nonprofit organizations engaged, and whole families, pets included, going out and participating in these campaigns. And it really is just wonderful to see so many different people interested and wanting to take action in their place and dedicating the time and energy to do so. Especially during a pandemic, I want to highlight that as well. People trying to be as safe as possible. This was summer of 2020 when it was really pressing to still go out and try and do this while staying safe. And we work with these volunteer participants through local organizers. This is nonprofits, city municipalities, state health agencies, and universities and the like, who go out and engage with volunteers and form partnerships across organizations, all dedicated to this mission around heat resilience. And so these are some really important people I want to highlight as well. So what exactly are folks going out and doing with these funny looking devices? Well, they're walking, they're biking, they're driving around to collect measurements of heat at 3 times throughout the day of a high heat condition day, to give us a better picture of how heat is distributed throughout the city. What we see here as an example from Kansas City, Missouri, is very clearly pronounced urban heat island effect. And these maps, which reflect the morning, afternoon, and evening, actually consist of thousands and thousands of individual measurements that are taken by folks, in this case, driving around their city. And what we see here is largely along expectations based on the land use and land cover of the underlying base layer here. As you can see, the density up in the north, lots of concrete and impervious surface that's absorbing heat throughout the day and staying hot into the evening, re-emitting that energy as long-wave radiation and warming the air around these locations. And further out from the city, you can kind of see the temperatures cool off as there's less intense development, typically more shade and tree canopy cover. And we can kind of see this north to south effect with some variability as you go across different land covers. And so we could not collect these data without the dedication of our community participants. And what they do is they collect that data, they send it back to us, and then we're able to, we've been able to devise a method over several decades of research to take these data and produce area-wide heat models. These are at a high resolution as well. These are, if you could zoom in here, you would eventually get to a 10 meter by 10 meter pixel that has a unique prediction measurement there. And this helps to see how heat is, people are experiencing heat on that tiny scale. And what's been done up until now has only been 30, 60 meter resolution at best, and looking from the bird's eye view down. But here we're actually seeing what's happening at the human level, and also throughout the day. So yeah, this has been a huge development in terms of monitoring for heat. And I want to take a second here to more broadly examine the role of our volunteers throughout our campaigns. And since we know it's important for participants to have meaningful engagement throughout the process, when we start early on involving them in the study design, and we ask them, where in the city is important to you in terms of a hot day? Where do you go to cool off? Where do you have to go anyway to get to work? The bus stops, the commercial centers, the recreation places, taking children to play. What's important to you? Where are you really curious about in terms of what's hotter and what's cooler? So we get this information back and we basically connect the dots, and we make sure that we have all our bases covered in terms of inputs for our models. And we design these routes on an interactive platform on Google where folks can zoom in, look at the route, become familiar, give us feedback. Hey, you're actually taking me onto a naval base, or I can't drive on this road. And so we're trying to have close conversation with our participants. And we train them up. We have them meet online and have a discussion about their interests, and give them really thorough training, test their knowledge, and make sure everyone is ready and geared up and ready to go. They go out and at 3 times on the campaign day, and then a few weeks later, a few months later, we're able to return the results and those maps like you showed earlier, and let people see the outcome of their efforts. Also, of course, are always looking to improve this campaign year after year, now that in our 5th year of doing this, and also looking to track the learning outcomes, as we've seen significant increases in understanding specifically around urban heat, urban planning, and climate adaptation. So it's been really neat to just see how going through this experience, being hands-on, getting some training, and really provoking the thought processes, the questions of where might be hotter in my neighborhood, where might be cooler, and why. And so we're really trying to enrich that experience of participants throughout the campaign of their understanding and learning. And to give you a sense of where we're conducting these campaigns, we are all across the nation. We've done this in over 50 locations, some of which highlighted here on the map, including small towns, Abingdon, Virginia, all the way up to New York City, and with a focus on places that are experiencing in these cities greatest disparity in terms of vulnerability to heat and other climate hazards. So we're really trying to focus on these areas facing issues of environmental justice, and we're expanding this campaign every year. We're in now our 5th year of mapping the heat with our partners at NOAA and NIHIS, the National Integrated Heat Health Information System. And they've been some wonderful partners in funding a lot of this work. And every year we do an open application, which is unfortunately now closed, as I'm saying this, a week too late for applications. But we are always looking to engage more and more places and get a better picture kind of nationally, as you can see, very concentrated on the East Coast. But we're really looking to keep growing out west and in the central part of the country as well. So just to kind of give you a picture of the breadth of this campaign and all the different people that have been engaged across the country. And on that note, in 2021, we had an astonishing number of volunteers, almost 800 folks going out and collecting data, over 1.2 measurements collected on 236 car, walking, and biking routes, and had quite a range in terms of participants by age, youth, people earlier in their careers, retired folks, just a wonderful spectrum as we showed earlier. It's great to see so many different people get engaged. So to give you a sense of how we're conducting these campaigns in terms of sensor technology, what we've designed is a very simple to use sensor, small sensor that fits over car windows for driving campaigns. It also mounts to bicycle mounts and carabiners for walkers. And it's designed to be very simple to use for everyone. It's a simple light switch, shows a light to be on, off, and lock GPS. And yeah, it's been a very solid device. We worked with an engineering firm to design. I'll just mention it's a limited inventory that we use only on campaigns. We're not a commercial entity trying to sell these. And so we just use them during campaigns. And yeah, designed to be very, very simple to use. One other technology that we found to be very engaging in our campaigns are the FLIR thermal imagery cameras, which attach very simply to iPhones and Android mobile devices, and lets people do kind of their own investigations, maybe during the campaign day or during the week, and people can go out and shoot these live images of where it's hot and where it's cool, and really start to explore the underlying question about land cover, and see that, yes, impervious surfaces measuring here almost 50 degrees Celsius in the bottom left, are a lot different than a shaded green area in the upper right, just at 32 degrees Celsius. And so folks are sharing these images on icy change, which is a kind of a social media network of climate change. And it's just a kind of fun add-on that we've contributed to the campaign process for when we have a lot of people going out and they want to get really engaged. And so most importantly, we get here to the question of why. Why are we after these data, and what are they meaning to other folks engaged in the climate discussion? And what we found are that these data can really go a lot of different directions with decision makers and stakeholders at cities. And oftentimes the first question is, who is being exposed to this risk at greater or lesser volume, and why are we seeing these differences? And it can often break down to distribution of green assets, impervious surface amounts, and historic policies that may have led to disparity in investments in resources by neighborhood and population characteristic. And so that's kind of our jumping off point with cities, is to understand the impact of the environment, built environments, and policy and city strategies that can help mitigate and adapt the city and population to what we know will be increasing impacts from heat. So to give you a sense of where else we've seen these data be used, here are a few examples. We've seen heat maps go into climate action plans, looking at preparation and mitigation strategies in long-range horizons. We've seen amazing maps be generated overlaying social vulnerability factors and community adaptation strategies. We've seen tree canopy, a very common layer of helping to explain why we see disparate temperatures and what can be done about it. We see a lot of public engagement events as well, where folks can contribute their lived experiences and anecdotes to compare and contrast with the heat data themselves, and tons of education and continued outreach And on that note, we do see quite a bit of conversations during the campaigns as folks share their experiences on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. And it's really neat to just see this kind of excitement and jumping off point in the conversation as people share what they've been up to, what they hope to see from the campaigns, and on all sorts of platforms, and interact with folks across the national campaign effort using using hashtags here and various platforms like ICChange and Twitter and Instagram. We've also seen the campaigns get picked up by local news media outlets, from small online publications to much larger like AccuWeather, Scientific American, CNN, and seeing this attention on heat and a community science effort really just highlights the impact that the campaigns are making and helps to bring this conversation to the general public about the disparity that people are seeing in cities and what city officials are doing about them through community engagement. And one last really exciting development over the last year has been the inclusion of air quality monitoring through the support on one campaign with Habitat Map's AirBeam 3, which is a very similar device to our temperature and humidity gauge, but it's measuring PM 1, 2.5, and 10. And we're doing some pretty neat visualizations and analyses with these data to then correlate what's being seen in terms of pollutant exposures and what's happening on the ground, populations, and land use and land cover. So I'm really excited to see this arm of the mobile monitoring campaign grow as well. So that's it from me. I'd love to continue the conversation and keep engaging with you all. Feel free to follow along about these campaigns this year through our Heatbeat newsletter. You can sign up and find it online by Googling Heatbeat newsletter, Constant Contact. And we will continue our partnership of engagement and partnering with the National Integrated Heat Health Information System, which is housed in NOAA's Climate Program Office. And again, I'm Joey Williams at CAPA Strategies, and thanks so much for listening along here, and I'm really happy to answer any questions you've got. So, thanks.